Ninth century Baghdad was the intellectual center of the world, a place where the air was thick with the scent of parchment and the sound of scholars debating the mysteries of the universe. In the heart of this golden age, three brothers were performing what seemed like pure magic. While the rest of the world was struggling with basic mechanics, these three were building machines that could think, clocks that sang, and fountains that changed shape on their own. Welcome to Muslim Biographies, where we uncover the forgotten giants of Islamic history whose contributions shaped our world. Today we explore the lives of the Banu Musa brothers, the men who automated the world and laid the mechanical foundations for modern robotics over 1,000 years ago. From the legendary House of Wisdom to the invention of the world's first programmable machines, this is the story of how three brothers turned ancient dreams into a mechanical reality. The air in 9th century Baghdad was thick with the scent of parchment and the sound of scholars debating the mysteries of the universe. In the heart of this golden age, three brothers were performing what seemed like pure magic. They were the Banu Musa, Muhammad, Ahmad and al-Hasan. Known today as the Da Vincis of Islam, they were the masterminds of the House of Wisdom. But their story begins with an unlikely, almost scandalous origin. Their father, Musa ibn Shakir, was not a scholar by birth. In his youth in the rugged mountains of Khorasan, he was reportedly a highwayman, a man of the road who lived by his wits and his sword. But life has a way of taking unexpected turns. Musa eventually moved to the city of Merv, where he befriended the governor, a man named al-Ma'mun. Musa abandoned his life of crime for the stars, becoming a renowned astronomer and astrologer. When he passed away, he left behind three young orphaned sons. The governor, who had by then become the caliph of the Abbasid Empire, did something extraordinary. He took the boys in as his wards. He didn't just provide for them, he enrolled them in the House of Wisdom, the legendary Beit al-Hikmah, under the finest tutors of the age. It was the ultimate rags-to-research story. The three brothers grew up in an environment where knowledge was the ultimate currency. They were at the vanguard of the translation movement, a massive state-funded project to translate Greek, Syriac and Indian scientific texts into Arabic. But the Banu Musa weren't just translators, they were critics. They noticed that the ancient Greeks like Heron of Alexandria and Philo of Byzantium had brilliant ideas, but often lacked the precision to make them work in the real world. The brothers spent a fortune, thousands of gold dinars, to acquire rare manuscripts from the Byzantine Empire, but their goal was always to improve upon them. They operated as a perfectly balanced team. Muhammad, the eldest, became a master of astronomy and administrative law. Ahmad was the mechanical genius, the engineer who could make metal move like a living thing. And al-Hasan, the youngest, was a mathematical prodigy whose work on geometry would later influence European scholars centuries later. Together, they formed a scientific triad that dominated the intellectual landscape of Baghdad. In the year 850, the brothers compiled their most famous work, Kitab al-Hiyal, or the Book of Ingenious Devices. This wasn't just a book, it was a blueprint for a future that hadn't arrived yet. It contained over 100 mechanical inventions, most of which were automata, machines that operated automatically without human intervention. To understand their genius, you have to look at their crankshaft. Today, every car on the road relies on a crankshaft to turn the up and down motion of pistons into the circular motion of wheels. The Banu Musa were among the first to document and utilize this fundamental engineering component. They designed self-plugging lamps that adjusted their own wicks to stay lit, and trick vessels that appeared to be full of water, but would only pour for a person who knew the secret mechanism. These weren't just toys, they were sophisticated experiments in fluid mechanics and atmospheric pressure. But their most mind-blowing invention was the programmable flute player. This was a mechanical humanoid that played a flute using steam or water power. What made it revolutionary was the switching system inside. By using a revolving cylinder with pins, they created the world's first mechanical code. If you moved the pins, the music changed. This was the direct ancestor of the computer program and the punch cards used in early computing. The brothers weren't just tinkering in a lab, they were power players in the caliph's court. They were tasked with massive civil engineering projects, like the construction of the city of Al-Jafariya and the measurement of the Earth's circumference. To prove that the Earth was a sphere, the Caliph sent the brothers to the vast desert of Sinjar. Their method was brilliant. They waited for a specific star to reach its zenith. Then they walked due north, measuring the distance with a chain until the star moved exactly 1 degree in the sky. Using this measurement, they calculated the Earth's circumference to within a few hundred miles of the actual value we know today. It was a feat of measurement that wouldn't be surpassed for nearly 1,000 years. However, life in the court was dangerous. The brothers were often caught in the middle of political purges. They had a famous rivalry with the philosopher al-Kindi, and at one point their political influence almost cost them their lives during the reign of Caliph al-Mutawakkil. They were accused of administrative errors in a canal building project, a charge that could have ended in execution. Yet their technical brilliance made them indispensable, and they always found a way to survive. While Ahmad was building robots, al-Hasan was revolutionizing math. In their book on the measurement of plane and spherical figures, the brothers used a method of exhaustion that was a precursor to modern integral calculus. They didn't just want to know that a formula worked, they wanted to prove why. They moved geometry away from the abstract shapes of the Greeks and toward practical numerical values. They were the bridge between the ancient world and the modern era. When their mathematical works were translated into Latin in the 12th century, they became a cornerstone of European mathematics, directly influencing the thinkers who would eventually spark the Renaissance. The brothers passed away in the late 9th century, leaving behind a legacy that is literally built into the world around us. From the feedback controllers in your thermostat to the code running on your smartphone, the DNA of the Banu Musa's Ingenious Devices is everywhere. They were the men who proved that science is not just about observing the world, but about having the courage to recreate it. They took the Highwayman spirit of their father, a spirit of daring and risk, and applied it to the heavens and the machine. They were the ones who dared to ask, what if a machine could think for itself? The legacy of the Banu Musa brothers is a reminder that the Islamic Golden Age was not just a time of preservation, but a time of radical innovation. They taught us that a machine is only as limited as the imagination of its creator. Today we look at modern robotics and see the cutting edge of the future, but the Banu Musa brothers looked at a brass cylinder, a heavy weight, and a stream of water, and they saw that same future over 1,000 years ago. They were the brothers who automated the world, proving that even in the 9th century, the only limit to human progress was the horizon. If this gave you a new perspective on history, subscribe to Muslim Biographies. We uncover the forgotten giants whose contributions shaped our world, because history has the answers if you know where to look.